10 chilling true crime tales involving Southwestern U.S. hotel rooms. Welcome to Odd Occasions, where we dive deep into the mysterious, the eerie, and the unsolved. In today's episode, we're exploring 10 chilling true crime cases that share one haunting detail. They all took place in hotel rooms across the Southwest United States. These stories span decades, from a vanished Prohibition officer to an unidentified woman found hanging in a shower, leaving behind unsettling clues, but no answers. So, grab a seat and get ready as we uncover the spine-tingling mysteries that have baffled investigators for years. Number 10. Ray Sutton. Ray Sutton's career began in the 1920s, working in a sheriff's office. He eventually transitioned into a role within the federal Prohibition unit. Almost immediately, Sutton established a reputation that was well regarded among his fellow law enforcement agents. On August 27, 1930, Sutton submitted what would be his final report, while operating out of Raton, New Mexico, and residing at the Hotel Seaburg. But the very next day, August 28, 1930, Ray Sutton vanished from the Hotel Seaburg, leaving behind just his top coat. Deputy Sheriff Fletcher of Raton, New Mexico, was the last person known to have seen Sutton alive, and that was in the vicinity of Dawson Fork. Sutton's absence from his scheduled check-in led to rampant speculation. Some believed he was waiting for someone. A search of Sutton's hotel room ensued, revealing something unsettling. His personal belongings, records, even his clothing remained untouched. It was as if he had simply stepped out, with the intention of returning. But he never did. Over 50 vehicles accompanied by scores of men combed the surrounding area, desperately searching for any sign of Sutton. Weeks passed. But then, on October 20th, 1930, a chilling discovery was made. Authorities found Sutton's government automobile in a canyon southeast of Raton. Inside, the backseat carpet was stained with blood. The investigation soon turned its sights on a man named Perry Caldwell, who was arrested in Pueblo, Colorado. Shockingly, investigators found both Sutton's Masonic identification card and a Masonic ring, believed to be Sutton's, in Caldwell's possession. As the pieces seemed to come together, the case grew even more tangled. A clerk from a hotel in Trinidad, Colorado, just across the state line, claimed he had seen Caldwell, who was suspected of having involvement in Sutton's disappearance. But, in a twist no one saw coming, the clerk later changed his story. He refused to identify Caldwell, retracting his earlier statement. And just like that, the investigation stalled. Despite the wealth of circumstantial evidence, Sutton's belongings, the blood-stained car, the identification items, the mystery surrounding Ray Sutton's disappearance remains unsolved. To this day, the location of his body is unknown. Number 9. Johnny Thompson. The events at the Capitol Hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah, on April 26, 1953, still raise questions to this day. It's possible that Johnny Thompson, also known by his aliases, Johnny Bokens and John F. Hansen, was the man who met a violent end on that fateful night. The scene unfolded on the Capitol Hotel's second floor, where an unconscious man was found, bleeding from a stab wound to the chest. Despite immediate efforts to save him, the victim passed away en route to Salt Lake County General Hospital. The autopsy confirmed what was already feared. He had died from a stab wound striking near the middle of his chest. As investigators dug deeper, they turned to two men who had traveled with the victim that night. These men, who had been questioned at the county jail, had arrived with the victim from Portland, Oregon. According to their story, the three had indulged in alcoholic drinks before calling it a night. But what should have been a typical evening quickly descended into chaos. The men awoke to find stolen money missing from their belongings. Suspicion turned quickly to the victim. Tensions escalated, leading to a physical altercation. In the scuffle, one of the victim's traveling companions stabbed him in the chest. Seconds later, the man lay fatally wounded. In the aftermath, one of the companions was charged with the man's death, but the case was far from cut and dry. The identity of the deceased, still unclear. What complicated things even more was that a man, fitting the victim's description, had been incarcerated at the Washington State Penitentiary before the crime even occurred. Was he really the victim, or just another piece of a much larger puzzle? To add another layer to the mystery, on May 5, 1953, the body was sent to a disposal facility. And the Capitol Hotel itself? It no longer exists, making it that much harder to retrace the final moments of that tragic night. As these stories unravel, the mysterious seem to grow deeper, more unsettling. Coming up next, a tale from Arizona that will leave you questioning every detail. Number 8. Ida Mae Lee. In the few surviving photographs of Ida Mae Lee, one in particular stands out. A black and white image capturing her striking a pose in front of a barn, leaning casually against some vegetation. But behind her, there's something odd, a mystery pink triangle. What it means, we may never know. Ida Mae, in her 20s at the time, was working at a motel in Grand Canyon National Park, Arizona, during the months of November and December of 1956. Born in Alaska and associated with the Navajo tribe, Ida Mae was just another young woman, navigating life, when she suddenly vanished, without a trace, on November 1st, 1956. She disappeared from the very motel where she had been staying. During the mid-1950s and throughout the 1960s, national parks were undergoing significant expansions, Grand Canyon National Park being one of the most affected. The U.S. government's Mission 66 program was responsible, funding major construction projects across the entire national park system. With these expansions came a surge of new visitors, both from within the U.S. and abroad. And while the details surrounding her disappearance remain sparse, the timing has led some to speculate that Ida Mae might have been abducted. The crowds, the visitors, a perfect storm for someone to vanish unnoticed. Ida Mae Lee was never found. Despite the absence of hard evidence, one detail stands out. Ida Mae had married Niall Lee Jones on September 6, 1955, just over a year before she disappeared. Records suggest she may have attended Round Valley High School and possibly continued her education at Arizona State University. But even these small details do little to piece together the puzzle of her fate. With no body, no clear suspect, and so many years gone by, the mystery of Ida Mae Lee remains as haunting as the wilderness that surrounds the Grand Canyon itself. Up next, a case from New Mexico where the victim was found under strange circumstances, leaving behind only clues that deepen the mystery. Number 7. The Flagstaff, 1983. This is John Doe. It was the year 1983 in the quiet town of Flagstaff, Arizona, when a man checked into a local hotel. He paid for his room in cash. He spoke with a European accent and introduced himself to the hotel staff as Schneider. His address, Bonhoeffer Street, Zurich, Switzerland, or so he claimed. The next time anyone would see him was on October 1st, 1983. But by then, it was already too late. The man was found hanging in his hotel room. No note, no explanation. The last time anyone had seen him alive was the day before, September 30th. As investigators looked into this mysterious Schneider, a few details stood out. On the fourth digit of his left hand, he wore a metal band, a wedding ring, indicating he had a spouse somewhere. And around his wrist, he wore a delicate bracelet made of a thin golden thread. A curious detail, but one that added to the enigmatic air surrounding this case. Upon further research, it became clear that Zurich, Switzerland, does not have a Bonhoeffer Street. But it's possible that Schneider was referring to Bahnhofstrasse, a famous street in Zurich. Still, this clue only deepened the mystery. Who was this man? Why had he come to Flagstaff? And what drove him to take his own life? Despite these clues, his true identity remains unknown. NamUs, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, eventually reported the Roadway Inn in Flagstaff as the GPS location where this man, this John Doe, was last seen. Was Schneider a real name? Was the address a fabricated detail to hide his past? Or was it simply a tragic mistake? Whatever the truth, the mystery of the Flagstaff John Doe lingers, unresolved. Up next, we dive into a case from Texas where the details surrounding the victim's final hours will leave you questioning what's real and what's imagined. Number 6. James Allen Broscovak. In 1986, James Allen Broscovak, just 23 years old, made a phone call to his mother. What he told her was unsettling. He said he was going to go for a walk in the desert to find God. Shortly after that phone call, Broscovak, an Air Force airman, disappeared. He had spent a brief period in a hotel in Flagstaff, Arizona, and from the moment he left that hotel, no one has seen or heard from him again. Where did he go? Which desert did he set out to walk through? No one knows. The area surrounding Flagstaff is home to several vast deserts: the Sonoran Desert, the Painted Desert, the Mojave Desert, and the Great Basin Desert, each stretching for miles, each capable of swallowing someone whole. There's another clue, though, a spiritual one. Flagstaff is located less than an hour away from Sedona, Arizona, a place widely regarded as a spiritual hotspot. Many believe Sedona is a place where they can feel energy, where the line between dimensions feels thinner. Native American tribes have long believed that Sedona was a place of spiritual transformation, a location where profound experiences could unfold. Given Broscovak's statement about seeking God and Sedona's proximity, it's quite possible that he set off in that direction, hoping for some kind of revelation. But his story doesn't end there. In 1990, a mysterious detail emerged. Broscovak's 1973 Lincoln Continental, the car he had left behind, turned up in California. And someone else had re-registered the vehicle. How did his car end up in the hands of a stranger in another state? The circumstances remain undisclosed. Another thread in a web of questions, leading to no clear answers. Was James Allen Broscovak lost to the vast wilderness? Or did his journey take him somewhere much stranger? To this day, the mystery lingers. Next, we'll take you deep into another tale of unexplained disappearances and the unsettling circumstances that leave investigators grasping for clues. Number 5. Douglas Baker. In February of 1987, authorities in Las Vegas, Nevada, made a grim discovery. In a room at the Roadway Inn, located at 220 Convention Center Drive, they found the body of an unidentified man. He had checked in under the name Douglas Baker, providing an address in Orlando, Florida. But there was something off. The investigation revealed that the man had died from a drug overdose. Yet, despite their efforts, investigators were never able to identify the exact substance that led to his death. A strange mystery surrounding what should have been a straightforward case. As they dug deeper, things only became more puzzling. It turned out that no one named Douglas Baker lived at the address he provided. The name, the details, all false. Law enforcement soon concluded that Douglas Baker was nothing more than an alias. But who was he really? And why the secrecy? Today, the Roadway Inn has changed, becoming a hotel that offers longer stays. But the case remains unsolved. In 2017, A Freedom of Information request was made, hoping to shed light on the man behind the alias. But that request? Denied. The truth about Douglas Baker, or whoever he really was, remains locked away. Another name, another mystery, lost to time. Next, we'll explore another case where an assumed identity led to a chilling and mysterious death, leaving behind more questions than answers. Number 4. Jane Doe, the year 1991. On June 5, 1991, the staff at a Super 8 motel in Albuquerque, New Mexico, made a chilling discovery. Near the intersection of Interstate 40 and Interstate 25, behind the closed door of a room, they found an unidentified woman. Her body was hanging from the shower head, a suitcase strap wrapped around her neck. A grim and haunting scene that left investigators with far more questions than answers. The woman was believed to be between the ages of 25 and 35. When she checked in, she was accompanied by a man, the one who had hired the room. But after that, his presence was no longer accounted for. Inside the room, investigators found a series of items. A tank top, a pair of pants with zippers near the lower thighs, and a pair of multicolored bikini bottoms. All of her clothing had been neatly packed away in a suitcase. But that wasn't all. They also found a photograph from a photo booth and $500 in cash. Yet one item was noticeably absent, a scale marked with the name George Martinez. The autopsy later revealed that the woman had heroin in her system at the time of her death. Was this an overdose, a suicide, or something much more sinister? Despite their efforts, investigators were never able to identify the woman. But one clue has lingered over the years: a name. Someone at some point claimed her name was either Becca or Rebecca, and that she had ties to Los Angeles County. More than 3 decades have passed since that fateful day in Albuquerque, and still, the mystery remains. The photograph of Becca found at the scene is one of the few remaining links to a woman whose identity and story still eludes us. Next, we'll dive into a case where the victim left behind eerie and puzzling clues that continue to confound investigators. Stay tuned. Number 3. Kitty Wyanette Simpson. On the night of February 15, 1999, Kitty Wyanette Simpson, a 27-year-old fashion aficionado and single mother, vanished without a trace. That evening, she had been spotted at Kokomo's Pool Hall, located off Interstate 35 and Southeast 29th Street. Initially, it was reported that Simpson had left Cool Daddy's bar in Oklahoma City, but let's be clear, her last known whereabouts were at Kokomo's. According to witnesses, Simpson left her handbag with a friend before heading off with an unknown man towards a nearby motel. Why she left her purse behind remains a mystery. Some speculate she did so to protect her belongings, but whatever the reason, that decision was one of the last things we know for sure about her that night. After that, Kitty Wyanette Simpson simply disappeared. One distinguishing detail that could help identify Simpson is a tribal lightning bolt tattoo on her right ankle. Tattoos can often be crucial in identifying Jane Doe's, and in Simpson's case, we can only hope that this unique mark will help bring closure in the event that her remains are discovered. As we continue to delve into these cases, the details become eerier, more unsettling. Coming up, we investigate another case where a single clue may hold the key to solving the mystery. Number 2. Maricopa County, 2003. This is John Doe. On November 30, 2003, the body of an unidentified man was discovered inside a hotel room on North 27th Avenue in Phoenix, Arizona. The hotel, located in Maricopa County, became the scene of a mystery that still haunts investigators to this day. There's evidence to suggest that the man wasn't alone when he died. Someone else had been in the room with him. But who? and what happened in those final moments remains unclear. The man, this John Doe, carried several Mexican identification cards, but upon investigation it became clear. These IDs were counterfeit. The cards listed two names, one of them being Santiago Zamora Gomez. While authorities have since determined that the second name does not belong to the victim, they haven't been able to rule out Gomez as the man's true identity. Adding to the intrigue, the victim was found with a notepad, its contents written entirely in Spanish. But despite these clues, the cause of death remains unknown. Forensics, however, has left a thread of hope. Investigators have preserved dental records and DNA evidence, perhaps the only pieces of this puzzle that might one day unlock the truth. Until then, the identity of John Doe and the mystery of what happened in that hotel room on North 27th Avenue remains unsolved. Next, we'll reveal the final case in our series where a mysterious set of clues leads investigators down an eerie path, leaving more questions than answers. Stay with us. Number 1. Roxanne Paltauf. On July 7, 2006, 18-year-old Roxanne Paltauf, known to her friends as Roxy, vanished without a trace from a motel in Austin, Texas. The motel? The Budget Inn, near the intersection of Interstate 35 and Rundberg. The time? Approximately 8:30 p.m. Earlier that evening, Roxy and her boyfriend had been staying in the room. But things took a dark turn. The couple got into a fierce argument, and in a state of distress, Roxy stormed out, taking only her identification. Before leaving, she told her boyfriend to leave her alone. 20 minutes later, when he went out looking for her, Roxy had vanished. Her disappearance was immediately alarming, especially to her mother, who had always disapproved of Roxy's boyfriend. He had a criminal record going back to 1995. Worse still, he had two previous girlfriends who had filed protection orders against him. One of Roxy's friends even claimed that the boyfriend had hit her, causing a nose injury. But the mystery deepened. Roxy had left behind all her personal belongings, her clothes, shoes, purse, wallet, and cell phone, which immediately raised suspicion. Then, on July 12th, Roxy's boyfriend returned her phone to her family. But there was something unsettling in the phone logs. He had made over 300 calls in the days following her disappearance, to a range of people, including his ex-girlfriend. During one of these calls, he told his ex he was having a significant amount of trouble. But what did that mean? Then, a new twist emerged. Another man was found with Roxy's ID in his wallet, suggesting the boyfriend might not be responsible after all. That man, however, faced allegations of assaulting an exotic dancer just days after Roxy disappeared, but those charges were later dropped. Despite the leads and the potential clues, Roxy's case remains unsolved. Thanks for joining us on this unsettling journey through some of the Southwest's most perplexing true crime cases. While these stories remain unsolved, they serve as chilling reminders of the unknown dangers that can hide in even the most ordinary places. If you enjoyed this episode and want more intriguing tales, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Odd Occasions, and turn on notifications so you never miss another eerie upload. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.